I can swear, I can joke, I say what's on my mind if I drink, if I smoke.
Hey everyone, Erin Elliott here in North Idaho, where I am finally taking a break. I'm reading a book in the sunshine because we have not had the best weather. But during this time, I just wanted to give a shout out to my Dentsply Sirona family because we're all kind of in this together, and because of the connections and the friendships I've made across the country during this time, we have totally been in contact with each other, lifting each other up, but also the amount of learning opportunities that I've had during this downtime. I always say, I don't have time, but now I have nothing but time. And so I've really enjoyed continuing to work on my practice and my skill set. In fact, we bought a 3D printer, so I've been taking a deep dive into that. And I'm pretty excited that when we get up and running again, we are going to be ready to go.
I can swear, I can joke, I say what's on my mind if I can swear, I can joke, I say what's on my mind if
That was pretty good. Dr. Erin Elliott from Post Falls, Idaho. And I see a backdrop right now that looks very familiar. Where are you?
I am actually in Raleigh, North Carolina, coming to you from the 3D Dentist Studio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And you have a friend with you there right now, don't you?
My very good friend T-Bone and Meredith, the course coordinator for 3D Dentist. So we're just getting some business taken care of before we live stream our course tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
That's great. Now, we are excited having you on because you changed my life. You know that. I heard you speak on main stage, and I'm going to do a little procedure here right now that really helps me. This it
so
brings
simple, right?
Forward. It opens up my airwaves. Oh, do you know what? This has helped my marriage. This has helped my dreaming. This gives me more energy, and it saved my life. And the message that you're conveying out there, you are one of our rock stars, and the message you have and how you're changing our profession is amazing. And it's great to have you on. Tell us what you're doing. What course are you going to be doing back there?
Well, it was probably like 4 years ago, or gosh, 4.5, where I was teaching a 2-day course kind of in office and that sort of thing. And that's where T-Bone saw me on Howard Ferran's podcast and invited me out to his practice to train his office.
Oh, okay.
And he basically said, well, I'm Indian and I'm cheap, so I don't really want to pay you, but I have this training center up above my office, so let's just make a course out of this.
Yeah.
And as soon as I taught there, I came out, I met him for the first time on a Thursday, and he flew out to New Jersey the next morning, and I had the whole first day to myself, this new place. But I'll tell you, I called my husband that night and I said, I'm home. And so that really started my journey even into cone beam. I'm kind of new to the whole cone beam and CAD CAM. We had a really old CEREC that my partner bought in 2001, and I just kind of never took to it. And I'll tell you, it's changed our practice, and my life is in a different course too. Main stage at, Dentsply Sirona World to spread the message that sleeping is sexy. They let me say the word sexy several times on main stage, so it was good.
No, that was a very poignant lecture that I heard, and you kind of, with your influence there, you've developed this trend, particularly around technology, and the courses you teach are based on that. Why don't you tell us about your curriculum? What are you doing?
So what I discovered is that I went to so many courses and I'm learning all this head knowledge, which is great. But then how do you apply that to the patient that's in your hygiene chair right then and there? So I've been doing this over 10 years, and there was a lot of false starts, and then oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do next? What does medical insurance need? And so I think that there was not a lot of step by step this is what you do next, sort of thing. So teach a foundation in sleep, because you need to learn, it's medical. So you need to learn the medical world and what sleep apnea is, how we can identify it in our patients in the dental chair, and how we can really influence even the patient communication part of how you can influence patients and bring them from a level of, there's no way I have a problem, to holy cow, you saved my, you changed my life. And so that's the fun part of teaching with someone like T-Bone. Well, I should make it clear that I teach like 95% of it. He's over there in the corner laughing at me. But he's really influenced me to simplify things. So just really cookbook, practical information. So it's my job to go learn all the hard stuff and then break it down to what you really need for your patients and your practice.
Well, that's the gift of an educator, is to take something complex and make it simple. So when your attendees go home, it makes a difference for them. And that butterfly effect that just passes on from you to your attendees and to their patients. Wow, that must be amazing.
That's what I'm praying for, James. That's why I leave my family. That's why I'm like, I hate public speaking, but it's why I put myself out there, so that we can spread the message that we can influence our patients. Because I'll tell you, and this is not a slam against our medical colleagues, but they're so busy, they're missing it. And if we as healthcare practitioners, which we really are throughout this whole COVID thing, I think, instead of being sidelined, we need to realize that we are healthcare practitioners and we can influence our patients in a big way, because we usually have pretty close relationships with them too.
Yeah. Hey, you're one of your good friends, Deanna Snitzer, who's just on, says, "Go, Erin, go, love you, girl." So.
There you go. There's a lot of love that comes on our screen. Erin, it's actually been good for me because I'm on the side of the screen where all the hearts come up.
Yeah,
right. So those hearts are energetically getting up for me, and then I will go ahead and move them over to you.
There they go.
See, that just.
My favorite part about Deanna, you got to see how big her personality is, and we have been good friends for a long time. But met for the first time in person at Voices of Dentistry, and she is this bundle of energy in a tiny little body.
Well, that's great.
She was shorter than I thought, because she. Sorry, Deanna, but you're hot, by the way.
So one more quote, because the guy in the corner of the room, Tarun, says she is lying. She teaches 99% and then has to fix what I say in my 1%. That's probably true right there, right?
Can't believe he admitted that.
Well, it's big of him. Big of him.
There's nothing but transparency. Well, I've been a fan of yours for quite a while now and follow you on Facebook. And so you're from Post Falls, Idaho, and I saw your boys were back in the water again, huh?
Oh, yeah. I have to tell you, my biggest disappointment through this whole quarantine is the weather that we had. I mean, man, if we had the sun, it would have been a totally different story. But they're out on the jet skis. The water's like 50 degrees and the air temperature is 55 degrees, if that. And they don't care. They're Idaho boys through and through, for sure.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
You also mentioned that during this downtime, a significant portion of your practice is around this airway, and you've been helping people during this time. Why don't you share that with us?
Well, we really did shut down kind of later than others, because just like trends and everything, it doesn't come to Idaho till later. But even in our 4-county area, we had 60 positive cases in like maybe 1 or 2 hospitalizations that weren't very long. And so it just really hasn't impacted us like it has other places. But we did shut down, but we would reserve 1 day a week for emergencies and sleep, which is considered essential because it is medical. And so we were doing deliveries and adjustments and doing, phone calls when we could, just for simple follow-ups or troubleshooting. But we needed to get people oxygen. And so many studies have come out showing that the best way to fight, any sort of sickness, especially COVID, is with
oxygen.
Sleep and oxygen. So we felt like it was imperative to get our patients the help they need. And, we took measures that if we had to do an adjustment that does create aerosol. So we were sewing the appliance prior to, and we were screening our patients and taking measures to certainly be careful. But we felt like it was considered essential, and not felt it is.
Yeah. With your team, as you've worked through this, now you just mentioned, I think before we were on, that you folks are back up and going now in Idaho. What do you see happening there with the flow of patients? And as Todd has always asked, do you think it's going to be a just trickle in, or do you think you'll be up getting back to normal pretty soon with the area?
I think it's different. The Idaho mentality is a little different. So, we're like the home of the doomsdayer preppers and all that. So there's enough of them that think it's a government conspiracy and they're ready to get back to life as normal. But, when we were seeing emergencies, our team didn't feel safe. And I'm not going to make anyone, I made an oath to help my patients, right? And so my associate, who is like my twin, she's been with us for almost 2 years, but we were each other's assistants. And I'll tell you, if you ever are losing appreciation for your team, go in and be an assistant, because we look like it was an S show. Like, we were trying to figure out how to turn on the x-ray machine and take an x-ray and didn't know where anything was. It was pretty funny. But that the team is starting to feel, safe. We have all the proper PPE, but the patients are raring to go. They're raring to go. And so we had our first day of, we have 2 doctors there, and we have 2 rooms of hygiene. So yes, we're taking the measurements and distancing and PPE and that sort of thing. It's hard to we are slowing down the traffic, but there's a lot of missed appointments that we had to schedule and still fit in. Yeah,
and we're going to make those up. I was reading, and dentists are right up there with the clergy as far as trustability, way above politicians. So, now's the time to take that influence and soothe our patients. I know our clients, I've done a few emergencies, and I went in by myself, and I used to micromanage everything, so I knew where everything was. And then I went through my managerial development where I delegated everything, and now I'm learning where everything is again. And I'm in there even scrubbing floors and with my dog. My dog's my assistant at the office, but I can tell you the patients I've seen with emergencies are so appreciative that we take care of them. And it's just, I've always been a good delegator, so that can kind of come back to bite you, right? That's a gift, Erin.
I do have a tip, because a lot of us were shut down definitely for April and most of March and some of May, but what happens in 6 months when September, October roll around? And so what the team is doing is checking benefits to see if the patient's insurance is twice a year or every 6 months. And I know companies like Emeritus has made a change in their policy for it to be twice a year. But we're going to try to get those patients that are twice a year in October, even though it's a little soon, but especially if they are a little higher risk, to get them in sooner so that we're not sitting around with no hygiene in October.
Yeah. Now, did you
have
something
for your team to do?
Did you have any trouble, since you've already started up, have you had any trouble with any of your team members wanting to come back at all? Or how have you handled that?
Well, there's definitely,
Or maybe you can't say it because you're live, so you can refuse that question if you like.
No, I have to tell you, the culture we have at our office really is family first. So we didn't do a whole lot during the quarantine except, keep each other posted, like, hey, I have this available for you. We had some assistants, start coming in for emergencies, and we did restorative single column last week. But if there's fear, I'm not going to fault them for that, but they are all feeling more comfortable. And so I think that they saw that we got resourceful. I mean, like Deanna, I started ordering a long time ago, knowing that it was going to take a while to get here. We did have maternity leave. Her maternity leave was May 7th, so she was literally coming back for a week. And she opted yesterday just to say, I think I'm going to stay home, which
that makes sense.
you can't, blame her for that. So we're actually scrambling for a temp hygienist right now. I don't know if we'll find one. I don't know what the general feeling is, but pretty much everyone was ready to come back to work.
You got some shout outs from your epic ladies.
Oh, they're awesome.
Well,
the whole reason I did that stair thing was because of Chivy. So
so let me tell you what she says about that. I got to put that up there again. So Chivy says, Erin, you and Tarun crushed the staircase shuffle.
I love it.
Somehow one of you looked a little more coordinated in that little shuffle. And then,
he's a good sport, I gotta say.
He's a funny guy for sure.
I've always appreciated Tarun in our interactions through the years, and it's he is what you see, and I appreciate that. But back to your situation. So as an educator, you're on the road quite a bit, aren't you?
Yeah, I was.
And well, now I see you speaking all over the place, and then you're there at 3D Dentist as well. So in the future, are you folks maybe looking at going more digital and just doing the conferencing with the different platforms we have?
When this all started and all the things that I had lined up were canceling, I was like, this is going to go, one of two ways. Is first, everything's going to be online from now on. We realize we don't really need to see each other in person, or we're really going to miss the in-person interaction. And I'm towards that. I really miss the in-person interaction.
Oh.
However, when better to be able to, with a team, sit down and really get this implemented and work on it.
Right.
And so we canceled our March course, and when May 2nd and 3rd was still kind of, we don't know, we decided to do this live stream option and then have availability for the recording for 6 months. So that I think right now too, there's some hesitancy because are you even going to have the same team when you come back? And so you're investing in them for them to leave. And so I think this platform for now is out of necessity, but it's going to work really well. And we had already been working on an online program because so many times dentists come to the course and we say, you should probably bring some team. And when they still come by themselves, the first thing they say is, I really should have brought my team. Now, how do I teach them all of this?
Right.
And so I think this will give them the opportunity. We started this back probably last year, but T-Bone sometimes is hard to, he has many, many ideas, but he needs people like Meredith.
Please
Meredith
tell us.
And myself
Tell us.
to really make it happen. And so with all this downtime, we finally are able to make it happen. And so that is it's kind of cool that I'm sorry that it forced us to do that, but it was something we kind of had in the works. And it's going to be a great option for the future. I just really miss something about now that I'm in this CEREC world and digital world, something about the camaraderie and the community that I don't get from other places.
Right. Correct.
And it's usually doctors that are investing in their team and their practice and just kind of have a different idea about dentistry, like a passion for it. That's the part I love the most is the passion for it.
I think about my thinking when I was in dental school. I went into dentistry because I wanted that control of my working environment. I didn't want to work for anyone else. And then we get out and, I love laboratories. I learned a lot from them. But one thing about CAD/CAM that did for me is it gave me that joy back because that joy of the craft. I love people and I love the craft of dentistry as well. And I love helping people. And I think that focus is what binds us together in our digital community because it's just changed me and it makes me look at my environment differently. And I love it. It makes me want to extend my career, but I still want to move to Idaho. You know that.
Yes. Well, your in-laws live in Spokane, if I remember right.
Yeah.
You met your wife in Clarkston, which is not far from me, but I got to know how you met her in 4th grade. Were you with her through high school and college and all of that?
In our hearts we were. What happened is my dad was a pastor, and we were in the district there, and we went to this little church school, and there were 2 rooms, 1 to 4, and then 5 to 8. And in 4th grade, there were 4 of us, and I think I was the only boy. I was the only boy, and there were 3 girls. And I still remember my wife just gazing at me occasionally. I'd look and, you get nervous and then go, I think I like her. But, I wasn't over the cooties thing then. But it was such a tight-knit thing. And with the church, we did everything together. We had pathfinders, and we would hang out, and we'd go on trips. And then you just became friends. And then my dad moved to Hawaii, of all places, and I had to leave. And I felt, for 3 years, I felt depressed for some reason. And I would just think about it. And then fast forward, we'd met again, and my wife was in education, and we met on a blind date, and I saw her, and I knew within 5 minutes that she was going to be my wife.
Oh,
And,
awesome.
that's just the way that God worked it out in our lives, and there's a different pathway for everyone. I'm a very strong God-fearing person, and I believe that providence happens for reasons. And it's been a nice journey, but it also rekindles the first love experience is great. And I've been talking about that first love in dentistry, first love in your life, and going back to the things that have meaning are the memories. We build our life around memories and also future focus. Sorry, I'm preaching again now, but you got me going, Erin.
I love it.
And it's about connection and relationships. And there's just something about the Northwest that is my favorite place in the world.
And I know you've done a few courses in Spokane, and I haven't been able to make any of them.
I know.
I really wish I could get more of a CEREC community in our area. I think we have so much we could learn from each other, but we really don't. I think we're so busy experiencing the outdoors that we don't have time for that.
But my brother was saying on the weekend, in the summer, the church isn't well attended because everyone is out having church in nature.
But our pastor tells us go. No, because we have such a short window of our summer, and that's why we live there. It is amazing. But during this quarantine, I realized how much I need a hobby. And when I went back to work on Monday, again, it was just single column, and I was doing more emergent dental. But I came home so happy. I'm like, man, I was in my happy place today, interacting with patients and helping them. And when I'm, prepping a tooth, you kind of get in the zone where you forget that there's COVID is even happening right now.
Right.
And I don't know, I just kind of reconfirmed, I guess. And the whole time, I'm not imagining little COVID, viruses up in the air. I felt safe. And especially, I wish they'd come out more with the scientific data of aerosols. But one thing I did find was that there is a difference between salivary aerosols and respiratory aerosols.
Mm-hmm.
And so the chances of us getting it are probably higher than other, industries. However, I still feel pretty safe, especially with the measures we're taking.
Yeah, I do too. And I think with the studies that are coming out with antibodies is that the majority of people who have the antibodies will not have symptoms. At least that's what we're seeing now come out in medical studies. But no, that's great. So let me ask you this. I heard something because I developed this flow in my clinical theater years ago, about 20 years ago. I didn't like running behind schedule, and I didn't like working multiple rooms. And so I developed this practice style where I'd see one patient at a time. I try to have some turnaround time between patients just for myself, because every time we go into a patient, it's like a speech. You have an opening, you have a connection, you do the procedure, and then you tell them what you did, and they leave. And then
you ask for money.
And we ask for money. And then on top of that, my wife said, the mouth is probably the most emotionally charged area. And then we're working in people's space.
Yep.
And I'm really sensitive and to people. And I've had to develop a practice style so I could keep my joy alive. And do you think that this is going to change maybe your patient flow and what you're going to do in the future and how you structure people?
I actually kind of hope so, because we're like a roller skate practice, a lot of volume and running between. I have 2 columns of dentistry and then a column of sleep, and I work 3 days. But I did like the chance to kind of sit back and chat with them more than I normally do. I had 3 patients of all men in their 40s, Mr. Tough guys, who were so swollen up. And I said, what, I was able to sit down and really find out, why are you avoiding us, and get down to the psyche of their fear of dentistry and see what I could do. It was like almost like a challenge of, okay, how can we help them help themselves when it just doesn't come to this? And I kind of put it on them a little bit. I was like, do you know the position it puts me in? You don't come to the dentist because it hurts, but then if you wait till it hurts, then I have to make it painless. So,
good point.
That's a really good point, Erin.
Well, it was kind of fun, but I also know that reality is around the corner of kind of having to get patients through more too. But we have to take it slowly.
Let me interrupt here, because one of your epic ladies, Shivy, says we have the best community, and I'd have to agree with that. What I really love about being in this digital platform is I've met a lot of great people. We're all friends. We may be a little bit competitors in our teaching worlds and stuff like that, but when it all comes down to it, we're friends, and we have passion, and we have common interests. And, I feel like we are the leaders in all of this. And that's the reason why James and I made this show, is so that we could bring leaders on like you, Erin, and give us hope and tell the people like how we're going to get into this and how it's going to be okay, and we're going to be safe. And your good friend Lynn Thomas says, "Amen, sister," and she says that she agrees. She feels safe too. So
I just want my team to feel that security as well, and maybe even find that reason why they got into it to begin with, And you think about nurses, that they probably, I don't know if they get paid less or the same as hygienists, but they're going into arenas where they are with, for sure, COVID positive patients.
Exactly.
But that's, the oath that we take. And I think we can really get down to the why of why we even got into this in the first place. And so far, the team is excited to be back too. Yeah. So, we just hired a girl. Like, our team was kind of like, we were rolling. And it's probably me that caused this whole thing, because I was like, man, we got a great team in place. The procedures are well. Our patients are good. They're paying. And the courses are filling up. I'm like, we got a good momentum here. And then
this all hit.
But like Deanna said, and this is my message to a lot of the fear that I hear from other dentists is, we cannot control that, but we can control our reaction to it. And so, that's what we got to do, is just figure out what we're made of and press forward, and the reason why. And if you forgot the reason why you went into dentistry, then this is a great time to maybe reconsider something else.
Yeah, the message that has gotten to me, and I'm passing back on, is rekindle your first love of why you went into this profession. I think dentistry is one of the best professions in the world. And on top of that, it has a lot of responsibilities, and it's really easy to get so focused into that sometimes this resets our hearts and our minds and the choices we make. Yeah. And I think that message has been loud and clear, and you're conveying that as well today. So the other thing that Todd and I want to do is, we love the inclusion that you folks have with the Epic Ladies, right? You guys are, I actually think you guys are going to lead the force.
Wait, what was that? Is that your special call? So wait, you got to do that again.
No, that's me being a white girl from Idaho.
But one thing I admire about you folks is that I think you're going to be a force, particularly within our digital world, of great things. And I really admire what you're doing with T-Bone. And we want to also do a shout out for you and your education and 3D Dentist. Yeah. We're about celebrating the success of others in everything you do, whether it's your practice, your education. Tell us more about your educational menus that you folks have there at 3D Dentist. I think it'd be good for everybody to know.
Yeah, well, joining 3D Dentist as not even owning a 3D unit was I felt
Yeah.
like a little bit like a hypocrite, but you don't really technically need cone beam to treat sleep. However, since we invested in it, I can certainly utilize it, and here's how. But it just opened up my eyes to the world of what our patients have that we didn't even know about. So what, T-Bone, when did you start 3D, Dennis?
2008.
In 2015.
Yeah.
And he's done a lot of, actually, I don't know the history exactly, but a lot of CEREC training, but with the 3D focus. So we do have a digital sleep course that when you buy a cone beam unit, they basically train you how to utilize it for sleep. More recently, they started the digital implant continuum. And, I took a different pathway for my implant. I went with implant pathway because T-Bone didn't have this at the time. But what it incorporates is how to utilize technology for the guided, but you're also placing implants throughout the course or in the course as well. So live implant placement. But the focus is not to do all this hybrid, all on four type stuff, which he does have a fully edentulous digital workflow course for that. But it's those patients that are walking in your door each and every day for those onesie, twosies, those types of cases that we're referring out. And that's such a big lesson that I learned is what procedures can we bring in-house? And with the technology that we have now, there's a whole lot more that we're not sending out the door, where your patients already trust you, you have relationships with them, and the technology just makes you that much better of a, dentist.
That's true.
So,
Go ahead, Todd.
So in Tarun's fashion, he says, let's be truthful. I was really the star and the best of the show. So
yes. And then he did it live in front of everyone, placing, and fully identified.
Oh my God.
That
was awesome. He did a great job.
We also have a conscious sedation course taught by one of the nicest men in the whole world, way nicer than T-Bone, way nicer than me, Dr. Brian Magoo. And what else, T-Bone? What am I missing here?
Hey, will you ask T-Bone? Hey, ask T-Bone right now. We want him on our show next week. Will he be on?
Would he come on?
Yeah. You'll be on next week, right, T-Bone? Yep.
Not myself.
You know what the thing is? I still remember I did a symposium back there, and at the end of the day, T-Bone came by and took us out to dinner, and I love his heart. And then he was out here on vacation, and he came by, and we hung out for about 2 hours at my practice, and I've always enjoyed him. And I wouldn't have known you, I wouldn't have known T-Bone, I wouldn't have known Todd if it weren't for our digital platform. And that's a common thread we all have. I can tell you the 3D platform, particularly with the 3D X-rays, has changed my practice more than anything else in the way I diagnose. And I do a lot of TMD care. I have for years, and I've taught that in the industry. And 3D has totally changed my understanding of a lot of things, and that curiosity keeps me alive. It really does. It keeps that.
I have to tell you, with the Epic ladies, the things that I get pushed at the most is my desire, or I really actually don't like anterior cases. It's not my favorite, but my photography is terrible. I don't take, so all of these things are really pushing me to be better. And that is the other thing that I like, is it's a good kind of, as an athlete, like you pointed out, it's like, I always want to make myself better. And we do it in a, positive way. Yeah. And I will say that T-Bone pushes me quite a bit too, but it's, it's like good cop, bad cop sometimes when we're encouraging other dentists to just improve their practice.
I think all three of us, Todd, let's go back just 15 or 12 years or 10. Look at where we are now with what we can do with this digital platform compared to where we were. It's like it's come over 100 years in technology. And that curiosity is probably what's keeping me in Santa Rosa. Otherwise, I'd be living up near you.
You're welcome. Well,
I'm working on my Idaho license right now.
good, because my implants, I stinking love doing implants and restoring them. And when you see a case that you did an immediate implant on when someone else would have told you, oh, graft it and wait another 6 months, and then you get this perfect emergence profile, it's like, oh, I love it. And then you can come do all my anterior stuff.
Totally. You know what's interesting? Unfortunately, there are a surgeon who I've learned a lot of implants from, and we've worked together for 30 years. I did his mouth a few years ago, and he was out in his car shop, and a wrench fell on his face and busted off number 8. And I told him, I said, I think we're going to need to go implant here. I said, how do you want to process that? He goes, you're the only person in the world I trust to do it. And
that's some pressure.
That's interesting, because when I send him, I don't do all my cases because this guy's an incredible grafter. He's a good ridge splitter. We've done some really complicated cases together, but I always set the case up and I want it done with a guide, and I set it up from a restorative crown down protocol. They love it. In fact, he's using an implant system with the switch platforms I've always wanted, and the ones I use, he's now using those implants on all his cases. And he just told me, he said, you've made all the difference in my career.
Well, sometimes restoring them is the hardest.
It is.
They don't see that part.
It can be a few degrees off, and that emergence is off. And and I'm a student. I follow Dr. Chu and Tarnow quite a bit, and developed a lot of my protocols from them. And particularly the restorative protocol is so fascinating to me. And I just love restoring them well. But it's all about the emergence and where we place that platform relative to the bone or subbone. And I've followed T-Bone for a long time on that, and it's just amazing how we've all grown. I'm sorry, I'm getting excited.
I get excited.
Let me throw out a shout out to Bill Clater. He's contributed to our digital enamel website. So Bill, Dr. Clater, he's a great guy. He says, "Isn't it refreshing to know we have leaders like Erin and the other women you've had on this week to be part of the dental leadership to lead us into the future?" Amen to that, for sure.
And Erin, I admire you a lot in many ways, but I really admire your education and how you brought to light the sleep process, because it's personally impacted me.
Well, I really think that the message needs to be that it is possible. I even had a whole lecture on every excuse I've ever heard why sleep doesn't work in a general dental setting, and how we can pretty much overcome all of those. It's really like, if I can do it, if this blonde chick in Idaho can do it, then most people probably can. But
go. I interrupt you.
I just want people to know that it is possible to help the patients that you have. You have sleep apneic patients coming in your practice each and every day, and it is possible to get paid for medical insurance. I'm not saying it's easy right away, but it will get there. I remember back when a class 1 amalgam was the most difficult thing we had to worry about, and it was so overwhelming at the time, and now it's nothing. So sleep kind of gets like that. You just have to get going. You have to find your why, and just make it happen.
She's having a moment of clarity, I think, right here. I got to write that down.
Clarity.
Very good.
Hashtag
Erin,
make it happen.
Yeah, very
I
good.
like that.
Very good.
Hey, could I ask you something? Is T-Bone still in the room?
He is.
Would you have him get up and come behind you, because we want to share a little love with him?
T-Bone, come here.
No, you can stay on, Erin. That's good. Hey, T-Bone, I just wanted to say something.
What's up, guys?
I want to look right in your eyes. T-Bone,
Yes,
I love
sir.
you. I love you, man.
Too.
I love
you
you,
know
man.
that, Todd. I love you too. Todd and I had a nice conversation in Berlin.
Yes,
I don't
we
know
did.
when the next time I'll be able to do an international trip.
Yeah, no doubt. And we're getting some great hearts right now. And like Lynn Thomas just said, this is the beauty of CEREC dentistry. And CEREC is our common thread, but going a little bit wider in our digital. Oh, look at the love here.
Love it. And
I have had tons of passion through the last 20 years of doing this, and I just love the friendships that we've built, and it's a community that's getting stronger, and I'm putting a challenge to all of us, especially the people that are on our show today and all week, is that we need to keep this going. We need to keep the passion going because it's kind of slipped over the last 4 or 5 years, and there's nothing like being in this platform. So T-Bone and Erin, thank you so much for doing what you do.
And our shout out is to you, and everyone share this broadcast and go to 3D Dentist, look at their curriculum and become better at what you do. These are some of the best people in the profession right here. They have heart, they have soul, they have character, and they want to help you. And T-Bone, I've always enjoyed that about you. Ever since I've met you, is that I like the fact that you speak your mind. We always know where you're at. I've really enjoyed you and your wife's conversations because, my wife is in mental health as well, and that helps, doesn't it? I like someone who understands the big picture about how we think and process our hearts.
I think Erin got a good insight into our relationship over the last day or so.
Just for the last years. I will say, too, the best part about the 3D Dentist course is it really is like family, and the learning doesn't stop at the course. Like, there's so much continuing follow-up and community, too. What I've always loved is that regardless of what quote-unquote camp you're in, we all have a common cause, and that's to help each other, to help each other's practices, help our profession. And for the most part, we all live in a world where we believe there's abundance. Whether it's in Austin, whether it's in wine country, whether it's here in North Carolina, or wherever, there's abundance, and we're after the same thing.
Yeah, well, we love the inclusion, and I want to know at least I'm one of your biggest fans, both of you folks, and I want you to know that. And I would actually used to get up early for your Facebook Live in the morning, and Erin's there getting her coffee at a drive-through, waking up, and T-Bone's taking his kids to school, and I was up there watching you guys. So
FaceTime Live just wouldn't let us do. We have to find a different platform because I'm willing to do that again. I actually started to miss him. So
yeah.
Well, we're gonna start wrapping it up. So, Erin, you have I can't tell you. You got so many comments. I can't keep them coming. Meredith Cooper Jones says lovey, and Karen is you guys rock. There's all sorts of things. But you got any last messages or anything to the people that are? You're a leader and you've got it together. But some other people are looking for avenues. What would you say?
What I felt the most is from people is fear and stress.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like that. And whatever it is that's creating that anxiety, let's find a way to overcome it and just kind of go back to the roots of why we got into this in the first place. And I hope that people get to a place where they feel safe, and they will. Like we have to move on and get back to our practices so that we can help people stay healthy, whether it be with sleep or even oral health. But we were called to this profession, and in my mind, it's not just a job. It's not even just a career. It's a calling. And let's really find the reason why we got into it to begin with. And
wow.
That'll make going back to work a lot easier.
That is powerful. Well, we have been blessed today, and thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
I got my Wonder Woman. I'm part of the Epic Ladies. James.
Love you guys. Love the Epic Ladies.
Absolutely. Erin, you're a blessing. Thank you so much for coming on, and thanks, especially to T-Bone. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you.
Okay, good. James, wow, that was we've had 2 great interviews today, just awesome. And I didn't know Erin very well, but wow, what an inspiration. I'm ready to go.
She's a gift. She's a driver, and she has a really good heart, and that comes through. And when you have passion like both of our interviews today, it's rekindled my first love for dentistry. And probably of all the things I've been blessed with interviewing these people and getting to know them digitally, where we've seen each other professionally, but to sit here and really connect and become more vulnerable with one another, is this community is so blessed to be in. I want to go till I'm 90 or they're on. I don't want it to quit. And they're giving me that first love back, and I can learn so much from them. No matter how much there's always more to know.
James, you know how you're going to make it to 90? I'll tell you right now. Put put that sleep device back in your mouth.
Right here,
That'll
right
probably.
here.
There you go.
I feel better already, and I'm breathing in. No, but this
You're
is
gonna
great.
go- Yeah. All right. So we are gonna. This has been the Epic Ladies Week, which has been super fantastic, and we've got a big guest on Sunday. We have Dr. Arun Garg that's coming in on Sunday. The only thing is, I'm not quite sure on the time, so I'll put a post up here after a while on when we get the time down, but that'll be on Sunday. And then we've got a lot of great ones next week, and for those that are watching, I'll get your time slots down. So
Yeah,
James,
and since you're going back to work, our time scheduling may change.
yeah, I start on Monday.
We're going to keep doing this even after we're all up and working again, because one of our goals is inclusion and bringing our community in together.
Yep.
Regardless of where you're at, we want to just celebrate our community, and that's what we're going to be doing.
You know how we're going to end this? We're going to end this with them doing their